I really didn't know what I was doing.
How long did you, or how much did you rely on your classical music training to help you through this? Was it invaluable to you?
Well, yeah, it helped me out a lot, just because basic chord knowledge and chord structure, and actually, it was good and bad. I was, in the beginning, writing songs with 25 different chord changes in them, you know, for the influence of classical, just being so highly structured, and trying to bring that down into some sort of pop format of simplicity. That was the biggest trouble, making things simple.
You are going to the States. I guess they're going to try and arrange a tour for you in the States
An American promotional tour, yeah.
and in Europe too, I guess. When is that coming up?
Well, that's going to happen after the American release, which is probably March 14th is the supposed date. Before that, since the album's been out in Canada for quite a while, I'm going to be on a Canadian playing tour. And then after that, I'll go on the American promotional tour, and then on the European promotional tour, then come back and play the States, then maybe play Europe. It's all up in the air. It's tentative now because we don't know how good the album's going to do there yet.
Have you been able to sit back and sort of assess what's going on with you, and where you want to go in this business?
Yeah, things, because it's not other people's lives, I think everything is happening very, very fast, and it is, but they come in little spurts of things, so you get the opportunity to sit down and think about what's happening for the most part, so you can take things in stride.
Where do you want to go in this business?
As far as I can.
To the top?
Yeah, sure, why not? If
Absolutely.
I get there, that'll be great. I mean, that's what everybody hopes for, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But this was just a dream of yours a few years ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was always a dream that I hoped somehow would become a reality.
You talk about the importance of having a different sound. Your sound is distinctive.
Well, thank you.
And do you think that the sound that you have is going to be the sound that can propel you to the top in the music business? When you look at the music that's out there today, all the heavy music, the heavy influence in music, and you come out with a melodious, soft, easy sound, where does that fit? Or how do you make that fit so that the people that are buying the heavy music and listening to heavy music or heavier forms of rock will also listen to yourself?
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, so far so good. The album, especially with Vox being the single, it's not that light. It is soft and it's very melodic, and the vocals are light as well, but it's got a fairly driving beat. And there's just compromise everywhere. If you're going to put out an album, obviously there has to be, because it's a business, there have to be single-oriented songs. And single-oriented means they'll get played on the radio or not, and the chorus has to come in before 60 seconds, I believe, and there's lots of things that have to be...
A lot of formula.
A lot of formula, which I really don't like, but unfortunately you have to follow along those lines sometimes in a song. I don't write things to be single-oriented, I just write them. If they happen to be, that's fine. If not, well, that's just too bad.
Well, also, too, what happens in the recording studio and what happens when you're out performing are two different things. You've always been used to being in a controlled setting where you've been practicing and playing, and now you're putting yourself out to people in pop music where you not only have to perform, but you have to entertain them.
That's the best feeling in the world, playing live. I love it. So far, again, so far so good. I've played about 7 gigs in Vancouver with my new band. Been together since late August now, and the crowd's been really receptive. And
how did you develop a stage persona, or did you just go out? Did you just go out there and do it?
Yeah, just went out and played the songs, and that was it.
And just let everything take care of itself. No stage jitters.
Absolutely not.
No doubts about whether you were interpreting the music the right way or you were moving properly.
No, it was all very natural. It just I went out and I did it. We practiced for a long time with the band. You know, we got all the songs working. We didn't use any sequencers, or see, the sound is quite processed on the album. There was a lot of special effects and whatnot. So we thought that yes, it would be rather difficult to make it come across while live. And it's a little different. It's a little more simple. And the arrangements for some songs are slightly different, but I think it comes across quite well.
I would think that having listened to your music and watched the video, if I was going to see you play, I would almost expect to see you sitting on a stool with a guitar and playing your songs.
Oh, no. I have fun when I play live. we dance around. My bass player's up there with me, and he's great on stage, and we just have a lot of fun. And we all love playing together, and we love each other because we're all really close friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, you know, get off on each other and have a really good time. And that's the whole point, is having a good time.
And bringing the audience into it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
How
Get
is
them
it
in on it too.
How is it that have you played in concert down here? No, not yet.
No, not yet.
It's rather ironic, I guess, that you've been doing all your gigs in Vancouver, but yet you did all your studying and you grew up here in Halifax, and yet you are basically an unknown commodity in your own hometown.
Yeah. Well, that's radio. It's C100 now has just picked it up, so I think that'll probably become a little help. Before that, the only station was playing was CBC.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet the album has been out since the end of October, and C100, as of this taping, which is in February, has just picked it up.
Yeah.
That is, on one side, encouraging, on the other side, a little bit discouraging, isn't it?
Well, Canadian radio has its problems. It's gotten very safe in the past number of years. They look to the American charts and the European charts, and whether they like a song or not, a lot of the time they won't play it unless it's #1 in the UK or America first.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not broken in either of those places, so it's not an easy thing for them to take the initiative and pick up on it.
So they don't really recognize talent then until that talent has been proven elsewhere.
Well, unfortunately, yes, and that's bothersome, because I'd like to break in Canada because I am a Canadian and I'm proud of it.
And you're a Haligonian.
And I'm a Haligonian, Blue Noser as well.
But that's perhaps the most difficult thing for Canadian performers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a hard thing to break out of, and break into and break out of.
A lot of performers, well, until recently, very recently, had a hard time getting out of Canada at all. Mm-hmm. I just did a show last week with National Velvet, and they're a Toronto band, and they've already been on a promotional tour in the States. But yet prior to that, it seems that a lot of good bands toured in Canada and wanted to go to the States and wanted to go overseas, but they couldn't get out of Canada because the record company wouldn't let them out, or
well,
couldn't
it's
get a
tour
distributorship.
support. You gotta have money. It's a very, very expensive thing to tour, and unless you've got some sort of deal with either American or European company. There's no way a Canadian company can afford it generally, unless they're a major. And if they're signed to a major, it's generally an American major. With me, now I'm on network as a label, and I have a licensing deal with Arista in the States, which means now I can have American and European tour support through BMG and Arista. And so now I have the opportunity to tour the States and Europe, because the album is going to be released and pushed there.
So would you suggest that Canadian performers now are finally starting to get a little bit of respect outside their own country?
Because the Americans and Europeans both are looking to Canada for many acts now.
Why
finally.
is that?
I don't know. It's just, well, because
Something different?
Could be, and just because there's a lot of really good talent coming out of Canada lately, I think. So they're finally picking up on it.
How do you feel as a Canadian having such a hard time breaking into the Canadian music scene? Assuming you make it big in, say, the United States or Europe, how are you going to feel about Canada and the recording industry? Are you going to feel like you want to come back here and perform? Are you going to feel like you want to do a lot for the Canadian recording industry?
Well, yeah. I am a Canadian, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm a Canadian, and the Canadian recording industry, there's really no problem with it, and I'm on Network, and Network is a fantastic company, and they've pushed me and just treated me really well. The only problem is it's a Canadian radio, and I really can't say that anymore, because since this promotional tour is finished now, in every city that I've gone to, one of the major stations has now picked it up. So it just took them a while to come around, but they aren't that bad, because now that I went on the tour and talked to these people, they thought, well, maybe we better have another listen to this. And so they're coming around.
With respect to video, how do you want to be portrayed in video down the road? Are you happy with the way you've been portrayed so far?
Well, not especially, no, and that's nobody's fault but mine, because I didn't take the initiative. So, except the thing is, this was a very low-budget video. We didn't have much time or money, and what I wanted to do was be up in a glacial lake with no trees and a green lake, and have lots of swooping helicopter shots and stuff like that. And it was raining for a long time in Vancouver, and it was cold, and it was winter, and we tried to get up there in a helicopter, and it was cloudy the whole time, so we ended up landing at Witchet Lake, which is halfway up. And there are lots of trees, and it looks like something out of the Beachcombers. But and because we didn't have much time up there, we ended up using a lot of the safety stuff, which was me singing in the studio, which I loathe. it's just a learning process, and it's something I'll know now not to do again. I just don't like seeing myself portrayed that way. So.
How do you want to see yourself portrayed?
Well, I'm not really
Do you always
sure.
want to be in an outdoorsy scene, or?
Well, that all depends. I mean, for this song in particular, it evokes outdoorsy type imagery to me. And maybe the next song down the road will be completely different. Steaming, I've got a lot of different ideas for.
So you're going to try and take more control?
You know, take control of everything. If I don't do it myself, it doesn't get done right, and I've got nobody to blame but myself. So
Yeah.
I want to be as much possibly involved in everything.
Just before we came in here, I noticed much music was on the television, and there was a sexy video that was on, and you just waved your hand at it in disgust. You don't like the way that women are portrayed in videos, at least that way.
Not generally, no. No, especially things. It's just
Too sexist videos, by and large?
It's not even. It's not selling music. It's selling sex, and it's just so pointless. It's a bastardization of music, as far as I'm concerned. Videos like that.
So certainly you don't want to go that route.
No, certainly not. No.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck in your career, Sarah, and I want to thank you very much for coming on with us.
Well, thank you.
And I want to show the album one more time. It's called Touch, and Sarah McLachlan has been...
going to be a collector's item now, because the Arista release is going to come out with a new cover.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is distributed by Capitol Records. You can get this album anywhere in town. And Sarah McLachlan certainly is a very talented performer, and I hope when you come back to Halifax, you'll come and see us again.
Certainly.
And we're going to conclude with the last bit of Sarah's video called Vox. And I'll sign off by saying that's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Was